all these years, you've been the only one calling this out.
No, I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time.
They said that you're a hater. They said
you're a hater. You do this, yeah. And now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. There's all this shit that's coming.
50, you can't make jokes about it.
No.
The internet might come for you, bro.
All I'm saying
it might come from
you. You see it now. All of these complaints. People were damn. They were and pillaged.
He told her, "No one will ever believe you. I heard it with my own ears." Former assistant. Day 3 of the trial. The courtroom froze. Diddy didn't just lose composure. He lost control. A man built on power, unraveling in real time. Why? Because 50 Cent did what others wouldn't. He stood by the victim. How much silence does it take to protect a monster? This isn't just another celebrity meltdown. It's the crack in an empire of abuse, gaslighting, and unchecked power. The kind of empire that only survives when everyone looks away. Cassie's voice has haunted the industry for years. Ignored, erased, denied. But now, the truth is clawing its way into the light. And it's uglier than anyone imagined. There are victims. There are cover-ups. There are powerful people who helped him hide. And it all started to unravel the moment someone dared to say, "I believe her." But behind the lights and money, something rotten was growing.
I haven't had issues with Puffy. I don't like him like that. Like, I don't like things that he would do.
Right.
And make me uncomfortable.
So we're speaking on Diddy. We're speaking on Puff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't have that thing where, we ain't had no thing. I wasn't sending nothing at him, big. If it was on the street side like that, we would be actively doing things to each other.
Right.
And we wasn't doing that. Right? So it gets to... With Jay, definitely not that. That's definitely not... It's just being competitive.
The courtroom wasn't quiet. It was choking. You could feel it in your chest. That kind of stillness where nobody even shifts in their seat because something heavy just landed. It started the moment 50 Cent's name was brought up. Not in gossip, not in rumors, but in support. He stood by Cassie. And Diddy, he cracked. Right there. In front of the judge, the jury, the cameras. The mask slipped, and for once, no PR team could glue it back on. Witnesses said his hands clenched so tight, the knuckles turned white. His jaw locked. His lawyers whispered, tried to calm him. But it was too late. The room had already shifted. People stopped seeing a superstar. They started seeing a predator unraveling. And all it took was one man refusing to stay silent. The assistant sitting near the front said it best. "I've worked for him for years. I've never seen him lose control like that." He wasn't angry. He was exposed. Let that sink in. This is a man who built an empire off control. Controlling music, controlling women, controlling stories. But the moment someone he couldn't silence chose Cassie's side, the whole illusion came crashing down. Reporters later said it was like watching a king choke on his own crown. The courtroom wasn't cold that day. It was thick. You could smell the sweat, the tension. It stuck to your skin. Like guilt. The kind you can't Febreze away. Diddy's team tried to recover. One leaned in and muttered, "Breathe." But his eyes were wild. He kept glancing toward the gallery, looking for who else might betray him. That's what fear does to abusers. It makes them paranoid. Because when the silence starts breaking, it doesn't stop at one voice.
I asked 50 about that. And he said you did the same thing to him. You asked him to take him shopping.
At Chris Knighty's wedding, he told me he'd take me shopping.
Yeah. I thought he needed some clothes.
I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You gonna make...
What? I'm a nice guy.
Oh, no. When people say that to me, I get a little uncomfortable.
Yo, I don't have no beef with
I don't know why.
With Fifth. He loves me. He loves me.
You know, dude, you take me. That's what a guy says to a girl.
And Cassie? She didn't even flinch. She sat calm, steady, holding her truth like a loaded weapon. Her lawyer placed a hand gently on her arm, like an anchor. Because even when predators shake the floor, truth stands its ground. Then the court played the audio. Low, grainy. A recording of Diddy threatening Cassie in a hotel hallway. His voice tight and venomous. "Say one word, and I'll ruin you. You're mine." The room sucked in a breath. You know what it sounded like? Not power. Not love. Just ownership. Like she was a thing, not a person. A trophy on a shelf he thought he could break if it ever tried to walk away. And still, some people knew. Managers. Bodyguards. Even artists who smiled next to him at award shows. They heard whispers. They saw bruises. They looked the other way. Because the money was good. Because the invites kept coming. Because calling him out would mean losing everything. And now, here we are. In a courtroom where justice is finally stretching its arms after years of sleeping through Diddy's hits. The breakdown wasn't just his. It was the start of something breaking open. This wasn't rage. It was fear. The fear of being seen, not as a mogul, but as a man who hid behind music while women suffered in silence. And maybe now, he knows the silence is dying. Cassie's not alone anymore. 50 Cent wasn't just throwing shade. He was throwing a line. A lifeline. One that pulled truth up from the dirt where it had been buried for years. So here's the question. If this is what one day in court looks like, what's coming next? Because the people who helped him, the ones who knew and stayed quiet, their names are coming too.
All these years, you've been the only one calling this out.
I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long
They
time.
said you're a hater. They said
You're a
you're
hater.
crazy.
You do this, yeah. And now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. There's all this shit that's coming.
50, you can't make jokes about it.
No.
The internet might come for you, bro.
All I'm saying
It
is,
might come from
you
you.
see it now. All of these complaints. People were damn, they were and pillaged. This was what's going on, right? And what do I get for I went through years of a hater. You're a hater. You want this and that. I'm just watching.
It only took one voice. One man with his own empire. One man who said, "I believe her." And the internet lit up like a fuse on gasoline. When 50 Cent broke ranks and stood by Cassie, something cracked. Not just in Diddy's image, but across an entire industry built on fake loyalty and whispered warnings. You could feel it. Like the sound of glass shattering in a quiet room. No more pretending. No more hiding. The courtroom already felt like a pressure cooker. But when news broke outside that 50 had publicly aligned with Cassie, the mood shifted. The air changed. Reporters pulled out their phones. Security tightened. Diddy's team looked shaken, like they'd seen a ghost. Only this ghost had a microphone and millions of followers. 4 years, these celebrities threw words around like brotherhood, family, day one. But when real pain showed up, when Cassie risked it all to speak out, most of them disappeared. No tweets, no calls, just awkward silence. And now, here comes 50, not whispering, but shouting. He called out the mess, posted it plain. No riddles, no shade, just truth. And that shook everything. Because when someone with power finally stands with the powerless, people start listening differently. The betrayal people felt wasn't just about Diddy. It was about the fake unity, the empty speeches, the award show tears that meant nothing when it counted. People remembered the Grammy hugs, the red carpet smiles, the Instagram birthday shoutouts. And now they're asking, was all of that just a lie? Let's talk about what public alignment really means.
Do you think Puff is cooked? I'm not sure if he's cooked. I'm not sure how bad that it is when you cook. You know what? When we think of all of those different allegations that pile up, he's cooked.
Right.
But I don't know how much of that turns into actually like what he's up against.
Right. The court of public opinion is one thing.
Yeah.
And then they also say, once we get in, then, the truth will
I
come
mean,
out.
that public opinion, he's washed. He's washed.
Yeah.
They washed him like that. But when you think about, it had a lot to do with him coming out and saying, I've been sitting here watching you people assault my character, this and that, and then the tape comes out. Boom. So, if the government released the tape, then they would say that they kind of poisoned the pool of people.
Means risk, means possibly losing deals, friends, access. But 50 took it anyway. Why? Maybe because he remembers. Maybe because he's seen this before. How fame protects the monster and forgets the victim. Or maybe he's just done watching women bleed behind closed doors while everyone else claps on stage. Either way, it hit hard. And you could feel it outside the courtroom too. Fans were louder. Protest signs popped up by the gate. We believe Cassie, one read. Diddy can't buy silence forever. There was a different energy in the crowd. Less like a trial, more like a reckoning. And make no mistake, Diddy felt that shift. He saw the press scramble. He watched the headlines change. Not Cassie accuses, but 50 Cent sides with victim. That's different. That's dangerous to men who've hidden behind power for decades. Because predators thrive when they isolate. When they convince the world the victim is crazy, or bitter, or clout chasing. But the moment someone loud stands beside them, that script dies. It's like watching a rotting wall finally give way, not from a sledgehammer, but from someone leaning on it just hard enough to prove how weak it really was. Victims started commenting. Old rumors resurfaced. The timeline filled with receipts. More people began to ask, if 50's saying something, how many more know? That's the true power of alignment. Not just one person talking, but showing others it's safe to talk too. Diddy's empire was never just built on talent. It was built on fear. Fear of losing favor. Fear of losing access. Fear of being blacklisted. But now that fear is shifting sides. Now he's the one scared. Because if one man can flip the table, who's next? What happens if more voices follow? What if the silence isn't safe anymore? And what if the next person to speak isn't just a rapper, but a witness.
You and Puff haven't liked each other business-wise for a long time.
Well, that's why it's only business. It was really away from that. I explained why I didn't hang out with him, right? Because it's a little fluffy stuff going on.
It's not your scene.
It's not my style.
Not your scene.
They hug you from the front and the back at the same time. I got uncomfortable with him because the way he was acting to try and get me to hang out with him was like, "Yo, I'll take you shopping." And I'm like, "What you mean?" Like, that's something you say to a woman you're attracted to, maybe.
Right.
It's just weird, bro. And now you start to see a lot of the weird stuff that was there. It looks like it all lines up, don't it? It was not in the closet. It was in front of you, and you wasn't seeing it because you see the beards, or you see the girls. So you didn't look at them the way it actually is to a degree.
You don't build a kingdom like Diddy's without learning how to own people. Not just their contracts, their silence, their fear, their futures. This wasn't random. This was a pattern. Cold, calculated, and always wrapped in charm. People close to him said it started small. A phone call in the middle of the night. Come now. No questions. Then it grew. Slow isolation. Cutting off friends. Demanding passwords. Controlling who she could see, what she could wear, when she could speak. Control wasn't an accident. It was the whole game. Behind the designer shades and polished smiles was a man who built cages for people and called it love. But love doesn't look like bruises hidden under makeup. Love doesn't sound like threats whispered in hotel hallways. Love doesn't cost you your name, your voice, your safety. One assistant described the house as quiet, but tense, like waiting for something to break. She said you could hear footsteps upstairs and hold your breath because you never knew who was about to get screamed at, or worse. Staff weren't allowed to ask questions. Just follow orders. That's how he liked it. Eyes down, ears open, mouth shut. One former bodyguard said Diddy kept tabs on everyone. He had eyes in every room, he said. Cameras, people, favors. Nothing moved without him knowing. Now ask yourself, how many people knew? Plenty. But they called it genius. They called him a perfectionist. And when the victims cried out, the industry said, she's emotional, or she's crazy, or she knew what she signed up for. This is how predators stay safe. They paint their abuse as discipline. They brand their control as love. And then they drown their victims in gifts so no one believes them when they scream. Cassie was just one name, one face. But she wasn't the only one. Others are speaking now.
You have something huge coming up, which is a documentary about P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Did he do it, right? I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually.
Oh, you've been saying this for a long time now. And then no one was, they're just, why is he saying this? And now it's coming out like crazy. I mean,
but I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated to a degree.
Quietly, anonymously, their stories all echo the same beats. Isolation, intimidation, power games, threats, control. It's like hearing the same horror story told in different voices. One woman said he took her phone and smashed it against the wall. Another said he promised to ruin her family. One said he made her sit in silence for hours, just to prove he could. But still, the world kept dancing to his music. Because we're taught to love the artist and ignore the monster behind the mic. This is what Diddy mastered. Smiling for the cameras while crushing people behind closed doors. And the worst part? The applause didn't stop. It got louder. The industry knew. But power protects itself. If the cash is flowing, no one asks questions. Think about it. He wasn't just controlling women. He was controlling the narrative. He bought headlines, buried lawsuits, signed NDAs like they were party favors. And the machine kept running. He didn't need a cage. The fear was enough. Because when someone controls your job, your image, your sense of safety, they don't need to hurt you in public. They've already convinced you the outside world won't save you anyway. That's not love. That's war. And now, the cracks are showing. The stories are lining up. And the mask, that perfectly polished image, is falling apart. But there's one thing predators always forget. Once fear turns into anger, people stop being quiet. And if Diddy's empire was built on silence, what happens when everyone starts talking at once?
I say things to the borderline like, oh my God, you're in trouble.
You got close when he offered to take you shopping.
Yeah, you see, Amika's in the same shirt. He's out there in the same shirt. This is not Photoshop. This is really happening. Obviously was not offended by what I was offended by. This is what I'm saying, bro.
When he said the shopping line, in real life, what did you say?
He was like, yo, you hot now. Now we gotta hang out. You take you shopping and I can just flash. And I was looking and I was like, let me just move away from him because I'm gonna mess up the wedding.
It was someone's wedding?
It was Chris Lighty's wedding.
Let's stop pretending Diddy did all this alone. You think the private jets, the blackout parties, the hush money, all that just happened without help? No. This wasn't just a one-man monster story. This was a machine, a circle, a system built to protect the powerful and bury the broken. Because every predator needs an audience willing to clap, look away, and cash their checks. Let's talk about the celebrities who smiled beside him. The same ones who toasted champagne at his mansion while women cried in rooms just down the hall. The ones who posted hashtag Black Excellence but went silent when victims came forward. Who stood next to Diddy in award speeches, then ghosted when the truth came knocking. You know who they are. So do we. Managers, publicists, producers, all of them knew something. You don't spend years that close to someone like Diddy and miss the signs. The bruises, the disappearances, the sudden staff changes, the quiet panic in a woman's eyes. But they didn't say a word. Why? Because silence pays. One former label assistant said, "We all knew to stay quiet. If you asked too many questions, you were gone." Just like that. Another said they were told, "Protect the brand, or lose your future." And so they did. 4 years. They protected the brand, the music, the image, the money, even when that meant covering up abuse. The smell of fear was real. You could feel it in the green rooms, in the board meetings. That stench of don't say anything, just smile. It was heavy, like sweat on a hot stage, like something rotting under velvet. They watched Diddy destroy lives, and instead of pulling the fire alarm, they just turned up the music. Even worse, some of them joined in. Bodyguards who looked the other way, lawyers who buried complaints, stylists who covered bruises, assistants who wiped away tears and told victims to keep quiet, for their own good. One woman said, "He threatened me. I ran to someone I trusted, someone in the business. She said, 'You can't win. Just survive.' That crushed me. This is what complicity looks like. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's the friend who says, 'Don't get involved.' The exec who whispers, 'Let it blow over.' The artist who posts inspirational quotes while DMing abusers, 'Stay strong, bro.' They weren't just complicit. They were comfortable. Because it wasn't their trauma. It wasn't their scars. And if they kept playing the game, they kept winning. But guess what? The rules are changing. People are talking now. The cover is slipping. Fans are watching. Questions are being asked. And suddenly, the same people who cheered Diddy on stage are scrambling to delete old posts and deny they knew anything. Too late. You can't unknow what you saw. You can't unhear the screams behind the beats. This isn't about one man's fall. This is about every hand that held him up while others were pushed down. So here's the truth. Diddy didn't need to hide his abuse. He had an army of silence doing it for him. But that silence is starting to break. And once it does, the spotlight won't just be on Diddy. It'll be on every single person who helped him get away. That's why this matters. Right now. Not next year. Not when the documentaries drop. Not when Hollywood decides it's finally safe to pretend they care. Right now. While Cassie is still getting threats. While former employees are checking over their shoulders. While Diddy walks into buildings like nothing happened. That's the problem. This man didn't just hurt people. He built his power on hurting them, and the world clapped. He won awards while women stayed quiet. He danced on stages while victims held their breath. And we let it happen. You can smell the rot now. It's been there for years, hidden under the perfume of fame and billion-dollar endorsements. But you can't mask it anymore. It stinks. It's leaking out of every headline, every courtroom, every fake apology. This isn't just Diddy's mess. It's ours. It's the cost of letting celebrity become religion. It's the cost of letting "he's a legend" cancel out, she said he hurt her. It matters now because the game is still being played. Young artists are still being told to play nice or get blacklisted. Women are still being told to keep secrets or get ruined. The industry didn't die with Weinstein. It just put on a new face. A glossier one. With better lawyers. And let's be honest, how many more are out there, just like Diddy? The ones with private jets and public praise? The ones who throw charity events to cover up broken bones? This case, this trial, it's a mirror. And it's ugly. Because the question isn't, how did Diddy get away with it for so long? The question is, why did we let him? Because we liked the music? Because he had style? Because calling out abuse makes people uncomfortable? Too bad. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to sting. Because real change doesn't come from hashtags. It comes from rage. From dragging the truth into the light and refusing to blink. And here's the thing. This isn't just about celebrity anymore. It's about your sister, your daughter, your best friend who said, "He's not who you think he is," and got ignored. It matters now because silence is still winning. It matters now because power is still buying its way out of consequences. It matters now because somewhere, right this second, another girl is learning that no one will believe her if her abuser has a blue check and a billboard. We can't pretend anymore. We can't call it drama, or a personal matter, or just allegations. We have proof. We have patterns. We have bodies. And now we have a choice. Do we keep clapping? Or do we finally say, no more? Because this isn't about cancel culture. This is about survival. This is about justice that's been late for decades. And if you think this story ends with Diddy, you're not paying attention.
Diddy allegedly assaulted his son's football coach with kettlebells. And I guess you guys are friends, but you immediately went on Instagram with this. Really funny. Did Diddy find that amusing?
He probably didn't. When I first heard it, it just was funny to me because, like, no matter what you do, you get these different status. Like, you'd be like writer, producer, a mogul.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get in trouble, they go rapper.
The truth isn't just what was said in court. It's what's been whispered behind closed doors for years. Diddy didn't just lose control. He lost the illusion, the charm, the legacy, the untouchable status, stripped bare by the voices he tried to silence. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a mirror. And what it showed us wasn't just one man's cruelty, but an entire industry built to protect it. Because Diddy isn't the disease. He's the symptom. A product of a system that rewards power and punishes truth. That buries bruises under platinum records. That turns trauma into PR strategy. And for every Cassie who dares to speak, there are dozens still watching. Still scared, still alone, still waiting for the world to believe them. So no, this isn't gossip. This is a reckoning. Comment below if you think it's time we stop letting power erase pain. Share this if you believe silence is complicity. Subscribe. We're not done. There's more truth to expose. Because if this is what one assistant saw, imagine what still hasn't come to light.